This is my wife. She's just a teacher.
The laughter stopped the moment the giant screen behind the stage flashed a name that almost no one in the room expected to see. For one long second, the grand ballroom became silent. Then the impossible happened. One president stood, another followed, then another. Within moments, 27 presidents from around the world were on their feet, applauding with respect, while hundreds of world leaders turned toward one woman sitting quietly near the back of the hall. Only one man remained seated, her own husband. His smile slowly disappeared as he looked around the room, unable to understand why the most powerful people on earth were honoring the woman he had mocked just minutes before. He had laughed and called her just a teacher. Now the entire room looked at him with pity. No one had told him the full story. No one had told him who his wife really was. Before the truth unfolds, take a second to subscribe, like this video, and tell everyone in the comments where you're watching from. Stories like this remind people that true greatness is often hidden behind the simplest lives. Marcus Hale believed success could be measured by money, private jets, and magazine covers. He had built one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the world before turning 40. Every business magazine called him a genius. Every television interview praised his confidence. Every investor wanted his attention. The attention slowly changed him. He stopped listening. He stopped saying thank you. He started believing every room became important only after he entered it. When he first met Nia Brooks 6 years earlier, she was teaching history at a public school on the south side of the city. She never cared about expensive watches or luxury cars. She loved books. She loved children. She believed every child deserved someone who believed in them before the world judged them. Marcus admired that at first. He called her different. He said she reminded him of the mother who had worked 2 jobs to raise him. They fell in love quickly. Friends said they balanced each other. She brought peace into his busy world. He gave her adventures she had never imagined. For several years they were happy. Then success grew faster than love. Business dinners replaced family dinners. Phone calls interrupted birthdays. Meetings became more important than promises. Marcus never noticed the distance growing between them. Nia noticed every inch. She tried to talk. He answered with gifts. She asked for time. He bought jewelry. She wanted conversations. He booked vacations he never attended because another meeting appeared. Little by little, she stopped asking. She returned to her classroom every morning with the same warm smile. Her students never knew their teacher cried alone some nights. She never let them see her pain. One afternoon, a little girl handed Nia a folded piece of paper. Inside was a simple drawing. The picture showed Nia standing beside many children under a bright sun. Across the top were 7 words. "You make us believe tomorrow can be better." Nia folded the paper carefully. She carried it everywhere after that day. Whenever life became difficult, she looked at those words. They reminded her why she kept teaching. Marcus never understood. He once looked at her classroom and laughed gently. "You could earn 10 times more doing something else." She smiled. "I already earn enough." He frowned. "You barely make anything." She shook her head. "I wasn't talking about money." Marcus laughed again. He thought she was being sentimental. He did not realize she was speaking the deepest truth of her life. Months later, an invitation arrived. The Global Peace Gala. The world's most respected leaders, scientists, teachers, business owners, and human rights workers would attend. Marcus received an invitation because his company had donated millions to international education projects. Nia received one too. Her invitation came separately. Marcus barely noticed. He assumed every spouse received one. He never read the small gold letters beneath her name. She quietly placed the invitation inside a drawer. She never explained it. The night of the gala arrived. Black cars lined the entrance. Bright lights covered the red carpet. Reporters shouted questions. Camera flashes lit the evening sky. Marcus stepped out first. He smiled confidently. Photographers called his name. He waved without looking back. Nia stepped out after him. She wore a simple midnight blue dress. No diamonds, no designer purse, no expensive necklace. Only a silver bracelet her late grandmother had given her when she became a teacher. Marcus looked at her outfit. "You're really wearing that?" She smiled softly. "Yes. You could have borrowed something nicer. I like this." He sighed. "This is a room full of presidents and billionaires," she answered quietly. "I know." He offered no compliment. Inside the ballroom, every table sparkled under crystal lights. Soft music floated through the air. World leaders greeted one another. Business deals quietly began over dinner. Marcus loved every second. This was his world. People recognized him. Executives shook his hand. Television hosts requested interviews. He introduced Nia only when someone asked who she was. "This is my wife." People smiled politely. "What do you do?" Before she could answer, Marcus laughed. "She's just a teacher." He said it the same way someone might say, "She just waters plants." The words were light, but they landed heavily. Several guests smiled awkwardly. Nia answered anyway. "I teach children." One ambassador smiled warmly. "That is important work." Marcus chuckled. "It keeps her busy." Nia simply thanked the ambassador. She refused to argue in public. Across the room, an older woman wearing a simple white suit quietly watched everything. She whispered something to the man standing beside her. He nodded once. Marcus never noticed. Dinner began. Awards for business innovation came first. Marcus expected to receive one. Instead, another company won. He hid his disappointment behind another smile. Then humanitarian awards followed. Doctors, engineers, volunteers, environmental leaders. Each walked proudly onto the stage. Nia applauded every winner. Marcus checked his phone beneath the table. After another award, he leaned close. "These speeches take forever," Nia whispered. "Every person here changed someone's life." He shrugged. "Not enough to keep me awake." She looked toward the stage again without replying. The host finally stepped forward, carrying a single gold envelope. His voice became more serious. "The final recognition tonight is not for wealth, power, or influence. It is for changing generations through courage that most people never saw." The ballroom became silent. Marcus looked up for the first time in several minutes. The host continued, "This year's Global Legacy honor goes to someone who never asked for recognition." Marcus whispered, "Probably another famous activist." Nia quietly folded her hands. The host smiled. For years, she refused every public award because she believed children deserved the spotlight instead. Several people exchanged curious looks. The giant screen remained dark. No cameras followed her into dangerous places. The room grew quieter. No headlines celebrated what she built. Marcus leaned back. "This better be good." The host opened the envelope slowly. The recipient secretly created classrooms in war zones, trained thousands of teachers across 4 continents, protected children during conflicts, and advised world leaders on rebuilding education after disaster. Marcus frowned. He had never heard of anyone fitting that description. Neither had most people in the room. The host smiled again. And tonight, after 15 years of refusing recognition, she finally accepted. Nia lowered her eyes. Her breathing became slower. Marcus noticed. "You look nervous." She smiled gently. "Maybe everyone is." He laughed. "You act like they're calling your name." She said nothing. The lights dimmed. The giant screen came alive. A single photograph appeared. It showed a younger woman sitting on the floor, surrounded by children, inside a damaged classroom with no roof. Marcus stared. The woman looked familiar, very familiar. Then another photograph appeared. The same woman stood in muddy boots beside relief workers after a terrible flood. Another image. She taught children beneath a large tree. Another. She stood beside refugees holding books instead of food. Marcus slowly turned toward Nia. She kept looking forward. The room had not yet realized what he was beginning to suspect. The host took one slow breath. "Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to honor Dr. Nia Amara Brooks." The first president pushed back his chair, then another, and another. Marcus remained frozen as every eye in the ballroom turned toward the woman he had introduced all night as just a teacher. The truth had only begun to unfold. Marcus could not move. His hands stayed on the table. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Nia slowly stood. She did not smile. She did not wave. She simply took one quiet breath as 27 presidents, prime ministers, diplomats, and hundreds of guests continued to applaud her. The sound filled every corner of the ballroom. Marcus finally pushed back his chair. He stood too. But everyone around him already knew why he had been the last person to rise. The silence between him and Nia felt louder than the applause. She gently touched the silver bracelet on her wrist before walking toward the stage. Every step was calm. Every step carried years of quiet sacrifice that no magazine had ever printed. The giant screen showed another photograph. Nia sat beside a little boy with one arm in a cast. She smiled while helping him write his first sentence after months away from school. Then another picture appeared. She stood in heavy rain beside volunteers carrying books through flooded streets. Another followed. She hugged children inside a temporary classroom built from wood and cloth. The room watched in complete silence. The older woman in the white suit stepped onto the stage. She was the chairperson of the Global Peace Foundation. Her voice shook with emotion. Many people know how to build companies. She looked around the room. Very few know how to rebuild hope. She turned toward Nia. Dr. Brooks has spent 15 years entering places most people were trying to escape. Marcus stared at the screen. His heart beat faster with every image. He whispered to himself. How? The chairperson answered the question without hearing him. She never accepted payment for her international work. People exchanged surprised looks. Every travel cost was covered by anonymous donors because she refused to use children's money for herself. Another photo appeared. Nia sat on the floor eating the same simple meal as dozens of children. No special table, no private room, no security, just kindness. The chairperson continued. When schools were destroyed, she helped rebuild them. When teachers lost hope, she trained them. When children lost their families, she reminded them that tomorrow still existed. Marcus felt something heavy inside his chest. He had lived beside this woman for 6 years, yet he knew almost nothing about this part of her life. The audience listened carefully as the chairperson smiled. Many governments have quietly asked for her advice. The giant screen showed Nia standing beside presidents, queens, ministers, and relief workers from different countries. Most of the meetings had never been public. There were no cameras, no interviews, no headlines. Marcus remembered every business trip he had taken. He remembered every time Nia had said she also needed to travel for teacher training. He had barely listened. He had assumed she attended ordinary education conferences. He never asked another question. The truth hurt more than any lie. The chairperson opened another folder. There is something even her husband may not know. Marcus slowly lifted his eyes. The room turned toward him for only a second before looking back at the stage. Nia closed her eyes briefly. She knew what was coming. 5 years ago, the chairperson said softly, Dr. Brooks was offered the largest education prize in the world. A picture of a golden medal appeared, along with $50 million. The room gasped. Marcus's eyes grew wide. $50 million. The chairperson smiled. She declined. The room became completely still. Someone quietly whispered, "Why?" The chairperson answered, "Because she believed another teacher needed the attention more than she did." Several guests wiped tears from their eyes. Marcus could hardly breathe. He remembered complaining about school salaries. He remembered telling Nia she wasted her talent. He remembered saying, nobody changed the world inside a classroom. Now every memory felt like a knife. Nia finally reached the stage. The chairperson embraced her warmly. The applause returned, longer, stronger, more emotional. When it finally settled, the microphone was placed in front of Nia. She looked across the room. Her eyes rested on Marcus for only a second. There was no anger. That hurt him even more. She spoke softly. "I never wanted tonight." The room listened carefully. "I wanted another teacher to stand here." A few people smiled. She continued. "But the foundation told me that staying silent would stop young teachers from believing their work matters." Her voice remained calm. "So, I came." She looked toward the audience. "When people ask what I do, I always give the same answer." She smiled gently. "I teach children." The ballroom filled with applause again. Marcus lowered his head. Those were the exact words she had spoken earlier. The same words he had reduced to just a teacher. Nia continued. "People often think peace begins with presidents." She slowly shook her head. "I believe peace begins with one child who learns kindness before learning hate." The room became silent again. Even the photographers stopped taking pictures. She wasn't giving a speech. She was speaking from her heart. "I have visited places where children slept beside broken buildings." She paused. "I have seen classrooms without walls. I have taught under trees. I have written lessons in the dirt because there were no blackboards, but everywhere I went, I found one thing stronger than fear. She smiled. Hope. A standing ovation broke out once more. Marcus felt tears forming. He could not remember the last time he had cried. Perhaps he never had in public. Tonight he could not stop them. The chairperson returned to the microphone. There is one final surprise. Soft whispers spread across the ballroom. The giant screen displayed the words, "The Brooks Education Initiative." Marcus frowned. He had never heard that name before. The chairperson explained. 7 years ago, Dr. Brooks secretly created an international scholarship fund. Another slide appeared. It listed thousands of teachers, thousands of schools, millions of children, Marcus whispered. 7 years? They had been married for 6 years. She had built all of this before and during their marriage. Without telling him, the chairperson nodded toward the audience. The fund has already helped educate more than 3 million children. The room erupted into applause again. Marcus's hands trembled. His company celebrated every million-dollar contract with press releases. Nia had changed millions of lives without announcing it once. The chairperson smiled warmly. The first donation to that fund came from someone very special. Another photograph appeared. An elderly woman stood beside a tiny brick house. She smiled with gentle eyes. Marcus recognized her immediately. Nia's grandmother. The bracelet. The little house. Everything suddenly connected. The chairperson continued. She sold the only land she owned. The audience gasped. She told her granddaughter, "Never become rich if it makes you poor inside." Nia lowered her head. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Marcus remembered that woman. She had welcomed him with homemade bread. She had never spoken about money, only about kindness. He wished he had listened more carefully. The ceremony ended. Music quietly returned. Guests surrounded Nia from every direction. Presidents thanked her. Diplomats hugged her. Teachers cried while shaking her hand. Marcus stood alone. For the first time in years, nobody wanted his attention. He watched the people surrounding his wife. Not because she was famous, not because she was wealthy, because she had earned their respect. A young reporter finally reached Marcus. "Mr. Hale, how does it feel to discover your wife has influenced global education more than almost anyone alive?" Marcus searched for an answer. Nothing came. The camera waited. His voice failed. The reporter lowered the microphone. Marcus walked away without finishing the sentence. Across the ballroom, he saw Nia speaking with a young teacher from another country. She listened, as if that one conversation mattered more than the entire gala. She always listened. He finally understood that. An elderly president approached Marcus quietly. He smiled kindly. "You look surprised." Marcus nodded. "I didn't know." The president looked at Nia. "That is unfortunate." Marcus swallowed hard. "I thought I knew everything about her." The president smiled sadly. "No." He placed a gentle hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You only knew the part that came home." Then he walked away. Those words echoed inside Marcus's mind. He only knew the part that came home. For the first time, he wondered how many evenings she had returned from changing lives, while he complained about stock prices. The answer frightened him. As the celebration continued, another announcement echoed through the ballroom speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, before tonight ends, there is one final presentation." The chairperson returned to the stage. Her expression had changed. She looked directly at Marcus. "So much of Dr. Brooks's story has remained hidden." She paused. "But there is one truth she asked us to reveal, only if the right moment ever came." Nia's face became serious. She had hoped that moment would never arrive. The chairperson opened one last envelope. Marcus felt his heartbeat racing again. Whatever was inside, it was powerful enough to make even Nia nervous. And it was about to change far more than one marriage. The chairperson unfolded the final letter with slow, careful hands. The ballroom became silent again. No glasses clinked. No cameras flashed. Even the musicians stopped moving. Everyone felt that something extraordinary was about to be revealed. The chairperson looked first at Nia, then at Marcus. Finally, she faced the audience. "Years ago," she began, "Dr. Nia Brooks made one request." Nia lowered her eyes. "If my name is ever honored publicly," she said, "please do not tell people only what I have done. Tell them why I chose this life." The chairperson unfolded another page. Most people believe Dr. Brooks became a teacher because she loved children. She smiled gently. That is only half the story. The giant screen faded to black. Then an old photograph appeared. A tiny classroom, broken desks, peeling paint. A little black girl sat alone in the front row. She wore a faded blue uniform. Her shoes had holes, but she smiled anyway. The room was completely still. That little girl, the chairperson said softly, was Nia. Marcus stared at the picture. He had never seen it. The next image appeared. A younger woman stood beside little Nia. She wore simple clothes and carried a worn-out school bag. Her mother cleaned offices at night. Another picture. An older man repaired old chairs inside a workshop. Her father fixed broken furniture. The audience watched quietly. They had very little money. But they never allowed their daughter to believe she was poor. The next photograph appeared. A young teacher knelt beside little Nia inside the classroom. The teacher placed one hand on Nia's shoulder while pointing at an open book. The chairperson smiled. One teacher changed everything. Nia wiped another tear away. That teacher told young Nia something she never forgot. The chairperson read from the page. One child with knowledge can become a light for a whole generation. The words hung in the air. Marcus remembered Nia saying almost the same thing many times. He had thought they were simply nice words. Now he knew where they came from. The chairperson continued. When Nia was 12, her favorite teacher died unexpectedly. The room fell even quieter. Before she passed away, she left one letter. The screen showed a faded handwritten page. The chairperson read aloud, "Promise me you will become the teacher every frightened child hopes to meet." Nia covered her mouth. She had not heard those words spoken publicly in over 20 years. They became the promise that shaped her entire life. No one moved. Many people wiped tears from their eyes. The chairperson looked toward Marcus. "There is one more truth." Marcus slowly lifted his head. Dr. Brooks never hid her work because she wanted praise. She paused. She hid it because someone she loved once told her that teachers were ordinary people. Marcus closed his eyes. He remembered. Years before, one simple conversation. They had been driving home after visiting one of her schools. He had laughed. If everyone became teachers, who would build great companies? She had smiled quietly. Teachers help build everyone. He had laughed again. He never imagined those careless words would stay with her. The chairperson folded the paper. She decided that if even her own husband believed teaching was ordinary, then she would simply continue serving without asking anyone to understand. Marcus could not stop the tears now. They came freely, not because people were watching, because he finally saw the pain he had caused without meaning to. The audience remained silent. No one judged him. His own heart judged him enough. The chairperson stepped aside. "Nia," she nodded gently. "The stage is yours." Nia stood before the microphone once more. She looked across the room. "I never wanted Marcus to become the villain of my story." The room turned toward him. "He is not a cruel man." She smiled sadly. He simply became so busy chasing success that he stopped seeing quiet success. Marcus lowered his head. Every word was true. He is not the only one. She looked around the ballroom. Our world often celebrates the loudest voices. It notices the tallest buildings, the richest companies, the biggest headlines. She paused. But tomorrow morning, she smiled warmly. Millions of teachers will quietly open classroom doors. They will change lives. Most of their names will never appear on television. They will still change the future. The applause began before she finished speaking. It rolled through the ballroom like gentle thunder. People stood again, not because tradition demanded it, because their hearts did. Marcus slowly walked toward the stage. Security guards looked uncertain. Nia nodded softly. He was allowed through. He stopped a few feet away. For several seconds he could not speak. Finally he looked into her eyes. "I'm sorry." Only 2 words. Nothing more. No excuses. No explanations. Just truth. Nia studied his face. For the first time in years, she saw no pride there. "Only regret. You embarrassed me tonight," she said quietly. "I know. You embarrassed yourself even more. I know. You cannot erase words after they are spoken. I know." His voice broke. "But if there is any way," he stopped. "I want to become the man you believed I could be." The ballroom stayed silent. Nobody interrupted. Nobody looked away. Naya smiled gently. That answer cannot be given tonight. Marcus nodded. I understand. She reached into her small purse. She removed the folded drawing from her student. The same drawing she had carried for years. She handed it to Marcus. He unfolded it carefully. You make us believe tomorrow can be better. 7 simple words. He looked back at her. What does this mean? She smiled. It means tomorrow still exists. He closed the paper carefully. He understood. Forgiveness had not been promised, but hope had not been taken away. Weeks passed. News from the gala spread across the world. Clips of 27 presidents standing for Nia filled television screens and social media. People searched for her books. Teachers everywhere shared her speech. Children wrote letters saying they wanted to become educators. Marcus disappeared from interviews. Many believed he was hiding. In truth, he was learning. He quietly visited public schools. He sat in classrooms. He listened. For the first time in years, he asked questions instead of giving answers. He met children who shared broken pencils without being asked. He met teachers buying supplies with their own money. He watched one teacher stay after school for 3 extra hours to help a struggling student. Nobody knew Marcus was watching. He wanted it that way. One afternoon, he visited Nia's classroom. She was reading a story aloud. The children laughed together. She noticed Marcus standing outside the door. She finished the chapter first. Her students came before everything else. Only then did she step into the hallway. What brings you here? Marcus held a small cardboard box. Inside were hundreds of new books. No cameras, no reporters. No company logo. She looked inside. Just books. He smiled softly. I thought classrooms could use them. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Thank you. It was the first thank you he had truly earned in a very long time. Months later, Marcus shocked the business world. At his company's annual meeting, investors expected a speech about profits. Instead, he announced a new mission. Every year, the company would build schools instead of luxury offices in underserved communities. Executive bonuses would help fund teacher training across the world. Several investors protested. Marcus listened quietly. Then he smiled. If building better classrooms lowers my fortune, he paused. Then my fortune was never very valuable. Some shareholders left. Many stayed. Within a year, other companies copied the idea. The movement spread farther than anyone expected. One evening, Marcus returned home carrying a small wooden frame. Inside was the drawing from Nia's student. He hung it in his office, not beside his awards, above them. Whenever visitors asked why, he always gave the same answer. Everything I built became meaningful only after I understood those 7 words. Another year passed. The Global Peace Foundation opened its newest education center. The building carried no billionaire's name, no president's name, no celebrity's name. Above the entrance were simple words. For every teacher who changed a life without expecting applause. Nia smiled when she saw them. Marcus stood quietly beside her. He did not stand in front. That mattered. As children filled the classrooms, laughter echoed through the halls. Nia looked at Marcus. I have one question. He smiled nervously. What is it? She asked softly. If someone asks what your wife does, Marcus laughed through tears. He answered without hesitation. My wife is a teacher. He paused. Then he smiled even wider. And she taught me too. Nia reached for his hand. This time he did not lead. He walked beside her. Because he finally understood that real greatness does not need to stand above others. It stands beside them. Thank you for watching this story to the very end. If it touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes ordinary people cannot change the world. Tell us your favorite moment in the comments, and let everyone know which country you are watching from. Until the next story, remember this: the people the world calls just something are often the very people holding the future together, one quiet act of kindness at a time.